All right, guys. So, for anybody who's not watching, I'm Dennis. I'm the owner of Man Up Life Coaching. We've been coaching men headquartered here in Southern California for the past almost 11 years. I'm here with Steve, who is a coach at Man Up Life Coaching, and Zach, who is a coach who has been in training and this year 2024 is going to start taking clients. So guys, I just wanted to have a casual conversation about all things life coaching, just things that guys might like to hear us talk about. So um, Steve, I'm going to kind of start with you, of course, and ask you, when you first came to Man Up Life Coaching, you hung out with me in my office. What were some of your first impressions of life coaching, having known nothing about it?
Well, we're gonna go down memory lane.
Right.
My first impressions. This is gonna sound like some PR, Man Up Life Coaching PR.
Like infomercial thing or
Yeah,
whatever. It's not that.
it's
And
kind
I'm just going to say the disclaimer. Okay, but go ahead.
no, one of my earliest memories of we would meet in the evening at maybe 7 or 8 p.m. And I recall specifically you were on a kind of first name basis with the janitorial team in the building where you were located.
Yeah.
And for a guy who was coming to you from sort of Silicon Valley culture where that kind of soft touch is lost in a lot of the executives. Seeing that was quite meaningful for me. I That was something that struck me.
That's interesting. So just to cut in for a second, you're this guy. You have an academic background. You also have an athletic background. So you're kind of athlete guy, brainy guy, coming from the Bay Area. Come down to San Diego. You show up in this office of some life coach dude, um, in an office in Mission Valley, and the thing you didn't expect, you were expecting an R in a circle. Here's how we make men.com. And you're saying instead that your experience was this was a real guy who was actually treating these cleaning people with a just a level of dignity and respect that was refreshing, and your first insight into the idea that this isn't just a system. This is, I'm about to be mentored by somebody who, not to toot my own horn, is a man of character. And that was interesting for you.
Yeah, there's a level of there's a level of integrity that it spoke to. And I suppose since this conversation is about coaching, then as I've since moved through the process from client into trainee into coach, I mean, there's probably there was probably modeling the behavior of treating people with dignity is as good as an example of good coaching as you can possibly give. Let's put it that way.
I love that. Um, I actually just want to take the mic and run with it, and I want to be careful not to do that. But that's really actually inspiring for me, because I'm thinking of the coach who's not here, which is our coach Faisal, who's here in spirit, but who we all love, and who is our I always say Faisal is our sort of spiritual canary in the coal mine. Anytime we're in an admin group, if it doesn't pass the smell test for Faisal, I say put the kibosh on it. And the one thing that Faisal has always demonstrated is He walks the talk before talking about it. He practices before preaching. He puts in the reps. Um, Two, the guy models grace. He's just really a very he's a hardcore guy. He practices Muay Thai. He kicks ass out there, but he's a freaking sweetheart of an individual, and he has it figured out that masculinity and machismo are not necessarily synonymous. And when I had somebody who is a little overly ambitious to come into Man Up Life coaching to hurry up and train to be a coach and make all the money, uh, an older gentleman, I think we all remember, right? Um, he, uh, he was like, "How do I do it? What's the magic secret? How do I coach guys and make all the money?" And I said, "Well, you know, one of the important things that you share with your client that there's no way to really uh you can't can this and you can't bottle this and sell it. It just comes from practice, is it's your vibe, man. It's your vibe, right? Like Steve, come on. You got me into BJJ, and what did I do? I started training with a guy and I was like, the information's all good, but I'm finding there to be a little bit of, I don't know if this is the best teaching dynamic. And you're like, yeah, as I've moved through BJJ, I've found that you can get the same information from different teachers. And there's just a certain something that makes an exceptional coach. Zach, you come from a military background, dude. I'm really excited about launching you this year because of your experience as a father, and as a Marine. How do you think being a Marine and being a family man is going to help you to coach guys?
Yeah, I would say that for the most part, in the Marine Corps, there is a lot of direct leadership and mentorship that happens,
Mm.
which involves a lot of coaching. So there's aspects in your career that you work with your Marines. There's aspects of their personal life, how they do financing. A lot of people who join the Marine Corps, they graduate high school. A week later, they're in boot camp. A few months later, they're in a fleet, and they're going, I don't really know what to do. I don't know how to get a loan. And so you help lead your Marines through those processes, much the same way you do your kids. And so I think a lot of coaching is about developing people, helping them achieve their goals and become a better version of themselves. And I think going through the process of being in the Marine Corps, being a father, um, and then also going through the program and proving myself, and then going through coach training, I think that the thing that excites me is that I kind of have a little bit of a background in helping that development occur, um, that will kind of naturally fit into coaching.
Um, Question, Zach, what is it that I always like to talk in coaching? You'll hear me talk about the things that that you don't know, like Arabic, something I know I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, Things that you don't know that you know. A song will come on, and I'll start singing all the words to it, and I'm like, I did not know that I knew all of the words to that song, but apparently I do. It's in there. And then the things that you don't know that you don't know. And I think that can be one of the biggest surprises, that comes out of coaching for a client. They think they're here to lose weight, they think they're here to fix their marriage. And they end up finding out that there's some upstream adjustment that needs to be foundational adjustment that needs to be made, that helps them, that trickles down and affects all of the things that they thought that they needed to fix locally. What do you imagine it is that you know that you don't know right now about coaching that is a concern for you and that you would like to either continue to learn about by picking my brains, or learn by putting the reps in out there in the field?
Yeah, I'd say the one thing that I know that I don't know, from the coaching element is just how diverse each person can be, and how diverse all of those interactions are able to be. I had a pretty good filter in the Marine Corps. There is a very challenging vetting process to get the kind of person who fits that demographic that occurs. So in a lot of cases, you're working with people who you can more or less a little more naturally get along with or go through, and it's not as diverse from that perspective. And so I think something I'm interested in, but also I know it's going to be a challenge is just the fact there will be so many different types of people with different types of backgrounds, with different
Yeah.
mindsets,
Yeah.
different, belief systems and values, right?
Yeah.
And even approaches where, I'm typically kind of a high energy, like I'm gonna go tackle some stuff, and some people are like, I'm gonna more like Faisal, the very cool, calm, and collected. And I know that I don't know how to navigate that perfectly, but I'm excited to have the experience and get more over time.
So that's why I love having Steve here right now. Steve, you had the advantage over Zach in your training process that I've spent years doing sessions, recording them, and my clients signed a release of information allowing me to use those recorded sessions to train my resident coaches. So Faisal and Steve had in common that they were able to review tape. I mean, these guys put in whole work days watching session after session after session and following each person's life like a little reality TV show. Um, Steve, what were some of your first impressions when you saw the difference between how this isn't like tell me how cool I am. I'm just saying when you saw the difference between how I as a coach coached one person one way, another person another way, another person another way, and how did that inform how you're currently coaching?
Well, I think there's a similar characteristic that you and Faisal and myself all share is that we're all very creative, artistic guys, and we also all are highly physical guys, and we're just dynamic and capable individuals who like to explore a lot of the space out there. And there's a level of coaching that involves being a kind of linguist and being able to meet people where they are. And what I observed in those sessions long ago when I was watching you coach other individuals, one of the things I admire about you to this day is that your ability to meet people where they are is just absolutely incredible. There's a range of personalities, and I think that you're better than probably almost everyone on the planet in terms of handling volatile personalities. Like
Because I was the biggest asshole you ever wanted to meet. I mean, I made Nate Diaz look like like a freaking nun. I mean, I was a real caustic asshole. So yeah, when I finally did turn the corner, I learned how to do snake handling with people who are volatile because I adhere to the principle that all judgment is self-judgment. So if somebody's nasty, they just need validation so badly. But back to the other thing, yeah, I do a significant amount of code switching. I do. And there's an argument that's like, where's the line there between like, I live in New Orleans. I'm in the freaking living in the 10th ward and I'm sitting on the porch, eating pig's lips and potato chips and shucking and jiving. And it's like, okay, so is this appropriation or is this just sort of cultural assimilation? I'm everywhere I've lived, every culture I've lived in, I do believe that I've sort of done the best I can to acclimate and to understand where that line of appropriation is, and I haven't always honored it. Sometimes I've been embarrassing and gone too far, but I've noticed that people would rather you try too hard and overdo it than that you don't make an effort to meet them where they are. And so I'm imagining from your perspective, you're watching a guy who is sitting in a session with a CEO, or some C-suite position and some enterprise level corporation, and I've got my business voice. And then I'm sitting in a conversation with a guy who is labor and trade. And I'm going, yeah, bro, I know what you mean. Sometimes when you're out there swinging that hammer and, mess around and smack yourself in the thumb, and you could see that familiarity elicits comfort from that person, and they get to that next level. So, okay, that having been said, how have you borrowed that and begun to do that in your own practice? I mean, you've been coaching for a minute now, and you've got old guys, young guys, all of it.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think we all share that sort of that thing where we're individuals who are not afraid of strange territory, and we're always exploring and learning new things, and it's just kind of the water that we swim in. And so to some degree, it's just a part of who I am and who I've always been. That is just, it makes sense to me. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone.
It does, because I know what you're saying. There is a little chameleon thing that I think you kind of do, where you sort of step in, read the room, kind of, say, what are people wearing? What are they doing? What are the customs here? And sort of acclimate and blend. But then again, there is a certain value to the person who comes in and says, yeah, I'm just me, and this is how I am. And people are like, well, I wasn't of the opinion that, when I moved from the Northeast to the South, it was like my cousin Vinny, like, yeah, you blend, like nobody thought that that I was the Southerner, like, yeah, go screw yourselves, y'all, nobody got it twisted and thought that. But if you pay attention for long enough and you look around and notice that in the South, people are moving a little bit more slowly because it's freaking hot and nobody's got time for all of that, New York energy. And so you slow down, not because you're like, oh, people are slow here, but rather there's more of a slow and steady energy here than a go, go, go energy. You get rewarded. So I think splitting the difference between being yourself and not being somebody trying to fake that you're something that you're not, but also recognizing how people communicate and how they live, and being considerate enough to kind of roll with some of their customs to make them feel a little bit more comfortable it's a good coaching strategy. And it's mirroring, right? I mean, it's what you do in consulting, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm with a guy who's a musician, I might find myself saying things like, I hear you. If I'm with a guy who's a visual artist, I might say, oh, I see what you're saying. If I'm with somebody who's very tactile, I might say, oh, yeah, I feel you. Women, oh, I feel that. You know what I mean? Somebody's super vibey. So Zach, you may or may not fall into the category of artist, but you're definitely creative, because every time I turn around, you're building something. You have the mind of an architect. You're always building something. You understand physical properties. You understand process and the integrity of process. And I don't think you're ever going to try to convince somebody that you're something that you're not. So how do you imagine coming into coaching, you'll deal with coaching people who, like you said, that diversity, who may be doing things that you haven't done.
Yeah, I think my main approach with this is really back to something that Steve said about meeting people where they are.
Mm.
I think that um, you're right in the sense I would never call myself artistic, but I definitely am creative. Um, and like you said, build things, put stuff together, create a lot of different items, woodwork and metalwork and whatever else the case may be. So it's kind of a similar approach through a different medium is the way I see it, right? I think that I'm more of a negotiator. I meet people where they are, pretty instinctually. It really resonated with me, Steve, how you said, it's a part of who I've kind of always been. And I've always sort of been someone who fits in with or has an ability to kind of read the room, understand what's going on, but in a genuine way, be a part of the group. And I think that that's what's common among all the coaching people, all the coaches here at Man Up Life Coaching, where everyone's been extremely genuine. And I think that when you are genuine in that way and you have the integrity, that it does allow people to kind of let you in. I think we generally try to keep people out when we think, oh, they're being disingenuous or they're just saying things to say them. I think that's where people's guards are up, and it's very hard to meet with them where they are. And I think from what I've seen, everyone approaches it with some integrity, being genuine, but also having the ability to understand and meet them where they're at and what they're going through.
Right. Especially since in this environment, this isn't just, hey, I want to talk to you for an hour a week and make you feel good, talk
Right.
therapy stuff, and we're like either vibing or we're not. It's good when you bring your vibe to the session, and that becomes a foundation for interaction. But there's also stuff. We're doing stuff here. Like, you work here, you're going to be here for Steve. You can't leave, can you? I mean, you're going to be here for a minimum of 12 to 24 months, because that's the amount of time that it takes to get any real work done. People are like, I see you have a 3-month, a 6-month, and a 12-month package. What's the difference between buying one or the other in terms of outcome? I'm like, look, you go to your local BJJ studio, you swipe your card for 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. Either way, you're going to put on a white belt. And at the end of 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, you'll have received the training that it necessarily takes to progress you down the line. We don't have a belt system here at Man Up Life Coaching. We only have, let's look at what's working in your life and make sure that you develop habits to keep doing the things that are working without burning out and sabotaging yourself. And let's also look at what some of the things are that you find yourself saying, I'd like to do, and figure out why they're not getting done. Is it time management? Is it self-doubt? So you just keep making excuses. And then if you've got a good coach, maybe they'll be observant enough to figure out that there are things that you are not saying that you have as goals for yourself that you might like. Like what? Like whatever. Like the guy who doesn't realize that every time he sets a goal, it's that he wants to make more money. And you get the sense that this would be a dude who would probably be his best self if he quit his job, bought a VW bus, and just traveled the world doing a podcast or something. And you're in the weird position as a coach, not to say, what you should do? You should quit your corporate job and buy a bus. But you could start to feed him ideas like, have you ever wondered what it would be like if you maybe, had more time, So just to wrap us up here, Steve, if you had to give any advice to Zach for onboarding as a coach for men, specifically in this culture where there is some talk therapy, but there's also core programming, and you are imagining being with a guy for 12 to 24 months, and that could turn into a few years or more. What would your advice be coming into this?
Oh, I'm not sure I would have any advice. I mean, you've made it this far after all. This is a job that gives tremendously fast feedback. and you will have a sense very quickly, you know, of whether you can stomach it. We'll put it that way.
Well said. Well said, because I think people are like, oh, dude, that's so cool. I'm just going to sit in a room in front of a computer and just talk to bros and help them instead of doing a real job. How quickly did it occur to you, Steve, that not only is this a real job, holy crap, is this a job?
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff that goes on a day-to-day basis, and there are good days and bad days. That just just like in any gig. But like I said, there's something nice about that fast feedback loop. That is something that's quite interesting, and it is challenging as well in its own ways, and you'll get a sense very quickly of whether those challenges are interesting to you. Of all of the challenges that you could be facing in your life right now, the ones that are brought to you in a coaching environment as the coach, at least for me, they tend to be more interesting than, say, finding out which stock to pick or whatever.
Real talk, real talk. So, like I said, just to kind of close this out, if somebody is listening to this and thinking, oh, this is cool, this doesn't really seem to have a direction per se, it's just a couple of guys talking about life coaching. One guy who started a business, another guy who was a client and is now a seasoned coach, and then another guy who's got a lot of life experience who has been training behind the veil and is now ready to launch. So somebody's watching this and they're either thinking, man, I like the energy of this, I'd love to find out more about the program and how it could help me, or they're like, oh, I've been interested in getting into coaching, I really appreciate this unique feedback versus some, you know, enterprise coaching model that's just kind of about sales and numbers. um if both of you, from your different levels of experience, and this is a closeout, and I think this is a little salesy, because I would like the person at the end of the video to be like, you know what, I think I'm going to go to the website and I'm going to learn more and maybe fill out an application. What would you say from both of your personal experiences is a reason to do this? What's the universal for guys here? What do you get? Why do this? I'll start with you, Steve.
Very well. I was being deferential and giving.
I noticed that. Yeah.
You know, if you're ready to make a change, you already know. I'll just leave it there.
Right. No matter what it is. I'm fat, I want to be skinny. I'm an introvert, I want to be get more social. I'm in this relationship, it's time to put the kibosh on this thing. I love my job, but I think I'm ready to start a side hustle. I hate my job, I think I'm ready to get that VW bus Dennis was talking about. Cool. How about you, Zach? What guys, like, why would I want to spend, you know, $7,000 to $9,000 a year working with one of these coaches?
I'll piggyback a little bit off what Steve said. I think most people know, I know I need to make a change. They have goals, they're ready. And I think most guys generally try to make changes on their own, and they spend a lot of time running into issues and not being able to make it all the way there, or not having the follow through. And I think if you're ready to make a change and you're actually ready to get there, then this is the right place. Right? You know, everyone could think, oh, I need to lose some weight. They look at it and say, yeah, I just bought another pant size up, and now I'm really going to get serious about my diet, or I'm really going to do this, and it doesn't really follow through. And it never really comes to fruition. And I think Man Up Life coaching is the place, the community, and the coaching staff to help actually carry you through to the end, and get you to the goal.
Right. And I want to finish with the caveat that even though we do have this sort of boy band model where there's like, hey, I'm, Dennis Spice and I'm Steve Spice and I'm Zach Spice or whatever. The truth of the wait, those were girls though, whatever. Screwed the pooch on that metaphor. But no matter which personality type you like, the truth of the matter is any client could get with any coach and get the results from this, because at the end of the day, we all have the same foundational practice. We're rooted in brotherly love. We're rooted in brotherly love. We believe, judgment bad, love and support for your bro good. And when we help each other in this way, fraternally, as a community, we all grow, and that's how we help the world. And you grow along the way, but you learn under the category of things you didn't know that you didn't know. You learn that by really investing in how you serve the world, you end up getting the biggest benefits. And I think that you can learn that from any one of us. So with that having been said, I'm going to thank you guys for your time. If you're watching this and you want to learn more, go to our website, manuplifecoaching.com. And hopefully I might be able to convince you to join our community. Okay. Thanks and take care.